Emma is good at using men's desire against them, but her own desires are tested when the monster that saved her life comes as a gorgeous woman to collect on her debt. Maneater, written by CCStarfield. Narrated by Rodney V. Smith. Emma twirls the paper straw through her cranberry soda, no vodka, and pretends to listen to the blonde guy on the bar stool beside her. He's not handsome, not ugly, just alone and lonely on Valentine's Day, which makes him an easy mark. Too easy. She likes a challenge, and he isn't challenging. He's looking at her like she's going to make his night, and she can't even remember his name. Dane? Darrell? Derek, maybe. He's trying to impress her with some garbage about human nature that he read in a poorly fact-checked pop science book. See, humans have no natural predators. Anything that can kill us, we've either made it extinct or turned it into something cuddly. Like bears, right? Absolute monsters. Could take your head off with one swing. We used to be fucking terrified of bears. Now we make cuddly versions of them for our kids. If not for that trace of English accent, Emma would have moved on. That accent and the fact that the pickings were thin tonight, good targets were as rare as a non-sticky patch of floor in this dark, dirty bar. This man beside her may be desperate and lonely, but she was fired from her last job weeks ago, and rent is due tomorrow. She's a little desperate too. Dean leans in. His words run together like the bear that slops out of his pint glass as he gestures with it. The thing is, we can't tell what's dangerous anymore. It's really messed us up, right? We don't know what real fear is. That's why we're all so stressed out all the time. We're afraid of the wrong things. More scared of saying the wrong thing being politically incorrect than we are of death. I know what real fear is, Emma thinks. It's knowing you're going to die and that there's nothing you can do to stop it. If she gets this over with quickly, she might be able to do something fun with the rest of her night. She opens her eyes wide, like he's filled her empty head with a revelation, and says, "That's so true!" The lights over the bar flicker once. Emma shivers as though someone dumped a bucket of ice water down her back. It's the outside coming in. Someone opened the door and Winter followed. She squints at the newcomer and sucks in a breath. The woman in the doorway doesn't belong in a bar like this. Cold, dark coals tumble around shoulders that slope as gently as the hills of Emma's childhood. She shrugs out of her black leather coat that fits like a second skin, and underneath, she's all skin, silver mesh top with nothing underneath, and dark jeans that look painted on to curves a woman could kill for. She lifts a chin that could have been chiseled from stone and looks across the room, straight at Emma, who forgets how to breathe. Those eyes, like falling down a well, and farther down. Finally. Hey, are you listening to me? Dylan waves his hand in front of her face. Huh? Emma turns, realizing she missed something. You need another. He points to her empty glass and winks, or tries to. It's embarrassing. She can feel the woman's eyes on her, blazing like she's put her back to a forest fire. It's hard not to look, hard not to stand and go to her side immediately. But Emma has waited so long. Suddenly, she isn't so sure she's ready for this meeting. Let the woman have a taste of how it feels to wait. Besides, she spent all night with this forgettable man, and she doesn't want that work to go to waste. It's late, closing in on midnight. He's had far too many pints. If she says no to another drink, he'll leave, spend the rest of Valentine's Day alone. A better outcome for him. There's that tantalizing bulge in his jeans, though. His wallet, fat with the cash he's been flashing all night. He's celebrating, he told her. Closed a big deal at work. She smiles and brushes her fingers against his forearm. Better have one more. Dexter waves the bartender over with his foam-slick pint glass. Lager for me, vodka cranberry for the pretty lady, he says, and burps loudly. The bartender slings a towel over his shoulder and looks at Emma. Against her body, where the forgettable man can't see, she puts 2 fingers flat on the scuff counter. The bartender nods. You got it. The woman's eyes are still on her. They pull her as though they are the pole and she a compass. Emma risks a look. A mistake. Her resolve dissolves immediately. With a giggle, she leans forward to give Doug an eyeful down her shirt. He smiles a foolish smile and doesn't notice when the bartender adds a little something extra to his pint. You're so sweet. I'm just gonna run to the girl's room. Don't miss me too much. She slides off the stool, but she doesn't go to the bathroom. The woman sits alone at her table in the corner, eyes crossed at the ankles, watching Emma approach. Her leather jacket is slung over the back of her chair like the trophy skin of a prey animal, folded before her on the table. The bend of her delicate wrists reminds Emma of the winding caves under the hills that she played in as a child. Her long nails shine like cut diamonds. In the stank bar, the woman is a gem glittering amongst coal, but no one else even looks in her direction. Emma hesitates, then sits down across from her, the small, rickety table between them. Her heart should be pounding, but instead, it's oddly quiet. She looks into those eyes again. They drink the light, black as the places beneath the earth where the sun never touches. I have been looking for you, the woman says in a voice like the breath you hold when you're alone at night and aren't quite certain whether you heard a sound in the dark. The first time Emma thought she would die, she was so afraid she wet her pants. But the woman across from her is so beautiful it makes her eyes sting. Under the silver mesh shirt, body paint swirls in white stars against her earth-dark skin. Pasties shaped like lidless eyes stare from her breasts, almost more obscene than if her nipples had been bare. Looking at her is like looking at the universe and finding the universe staring back. I've been waiting for you. The bite in Emma's tone is anger and longing and relief. The woman studies her, unblinking, as still as if carved from stone. Against her motionless skin, the white body paint ripples like it's breathing. Emma's breathing quickens in turn. You still do not fear me. It's not a question. Emma says nothing. The woman's age is impossible to guess. Her smooth face could be 18, but those bottomless eyes seem as old as the earth itself. Older, maybe. Last time she came not as a woman, but as a shaking in the sunless dark, the roar of the earth, the fall of rocks to crush and maim. But Emma could never forget those eyes. I hunger, the woman says. Emma draws in a breath. Are you here to kill me? We made a deal, you and I. Perhaps you have forgotten. Her voice presses with the weight of grave dirt. Their first meeting is the only reason Emma is alive today. The cave-in should have ended her life before it really began. But, greedy child that she was, she wept and begged, and miraculously, someone listened. They made a deal. Her father died in her place, his cruel hands buried under the earth where they could never hurt her again. A better woman might have felt guilty. Emma has only ever been grateful to what? Who saved her? God, demon, or something else entirely. She doesn't care. I haven't forgotten, Emma says, low. So much has been taken from me, and I am so hungry. Emma can feel her hunger, the hot, bone-deep ache of her need, can feel the heat that rises in herself to meet it. The woman leans forward, and the lights overhead flicker. In that precarious space between light and dark, when Emma isn't quite sure if the lights will ever come back on, the woman's body paint changes. The stars are not stars, but eyes. Skin becomes an endless canvas of staring, lidless eyes that twist out into the dark beyond. Something parts before her like the gauzy folds of a skirt, and for the briefest of moments, Emma can see. She knows. With another flicker, the lights sputter back to life. There are no eyes, only body paint in the shape of stars. Emma blinks, the clear vision suddenly blurred, shakes her head as the memory of fades like sand slipping between her fingers. Is gone before she really understands what happened. The woman cups her face with fingers as cool as the underside of stone, and Emma leans into her touch like a supplicant. The hunger burns in her belly as though she's carried it all her life. In a way, she has. She waited so long for this. Will you honor our deal? The generosity of the question surprises her. She considers it. She could get up now. She could stand, say no to the deal she made as a terrified, broken child, and walk away. Maybe she would walk outside and be flattened by a passing truck. Maybe she would live another 60 years. But she should have died years ago. Short life or long. She isn't afraid to make that choice. She waits long enough to be sure of that, to be sure that when she chooses to stay, It's because she wants to. This woman who isn't a woman, who made her wait so long, who speaks with the voice of the earth and burns with an impossible hunger, but still gives Emma the gift of the choice. Emma has never wanted anything more than she wants her. Yes, Emma whispers. I will. The woman turns her chin up with a hand neither gentle nor firm. Her thumb makes a circle on Emma's cheek like a question, her cut diamond nail cold and hard against her skin, and Emma aches for more. Show me, the woman says. The first threads of impending migraine crawl up the back of her skull as Emma presses to her feet. She blinks, for a moment unsteady as though the bartender didn't hold the vodka for her all night. The neon cupid above the bar flicks its wings at her. The forgettable man is still on his stool, and she still doesn't remember his name. Damien? Declan? She looks back across the rickety table, but the other chair is empty. The woman is gone. No sign of her trophy skin leather coat. There's only the heat of her hunger in Emma's stomach. A test, then. Easy. Emma already has everything she needs. Dallas gives her a bleary smile when she sits down beside him. That was fast, he slurs. The bartender gives Emma a look like, get him out of here before anyone catches on. He'll expect his cut tomorrow, just like the last time they did this. But she thinks she wouldn't be here tomorrow to give it to him. She remembers the way her father screamed as he died. David isn't a bad man. Annoying and obnoxious, yes, but he wasn't cruel to her, and she doesn't have any reason to think he ever hurt anyone. But the hunger purrs in her belly, demanding. The migraine threads up her skull. She smiles at Dennis and puts a hand on his knee. I've had a fun night. Maybe we should get a cab. Sounds great, he mumbles. His eyes slide shut. She gives the driver an address. It's not her address, and it's certainly not Donald's address. She keeps her face turned away from the camera and lets the lens capture only her dark curls and darker coat. When they stumble out, Emma doing her best to support the forgettable man's ridiculous muscle-bound weight, she pays the driver with one of the credit cards in his fat wallet. It's snowing, heavy flakes drifting through thin dollops of light from the street lamps. The icy wind swirls against Emma's neck like the woman's breath as she drags Darcy into the alley, away from the light, away from curious eyes. She props him against the wall, then rifles through his wallet. She pockets the cash, a truly ridiculous amount of cash for anyone to carry. She hesitates over his 6 credit cards, then puts them back. They'll probably be cancelled too fast to be much good to her if he wakes up tomorrow. She doesn't need to wonder what to do next. When she turns, the woman is there. Her black leather coat looks less like a coat now and more like her own flesh. The white markings of her body paint ripple across its surface. Snow swirls all around, melts in Emma's hair, but none of it lands on her. Will he do? Emma asks. The woman comes closer. She doesn't take a step or seem to move at all. Between one gust of wind and the next, she's simply beside Emma. The light shrinks from her presence. The white markings on her coat skin blur, indistinct. In the flicker of snow, she is suddenly covered not with stars or eyes, but mouths, an infinite monstrous expanse of spiny teeth bristling, ivory needles chattering, but not with cold. I should be afraid. Her head throbs, but it's not fear that thrills through Emma. On the ground, Dimitri stirs and whimpers in terror. His mouth moves, nonsense sounds dripping from his lips with his foamy spit. Emma unravels a scarf from around his neck and stuffs it into his mouth to stop the horrible mewling. His name is Decker, she says. Close enough, probably. He struggles to rise, to do anything at all. A dark stain spreads across the seat of his pants as though he wet himself. The bartender didn't drug him so that she could take his life, only his money. A better woman might feel sorry for him, might feel guilty, maybe, for bringing him to almost certain death. But Emma has never been a good woman, only a greedy one. He will do. The woman puts her hand on Emma's face, on her throat. She's careful not to break skin with her diamond claws, although she isn't gentle. The expression on her beautiful, terrible face is not a smile, but there is a sharp pleasure about it anyway. Good girl, she says, her voice the molten pour of lava or Emma's desire. Please. Her pulse throbs against the woman's touch. Will you show me again? Head tilted, the woman considers her request. It is not meant for you. I know, Emma whispers. A migraine aura pulses in her left eye, turns the falling snow to shivering dancers in the night. It may destroy you. I would be glad to be destroyed by you. The woman exhales, long and slow, and it is the song of the earth itself relaxing, tension rippling out in devastating earthquakes that billow across her earth-dark hide, the mountain slopes of her shoulders. Lidless eyes blink, teeth chatter. Reaching out, Emma puts her hand against that dark hide. It isn't soft, but it is warm and shivering and so impossibly alive. She can feel not a heartbeat. She's not sure the woman has a heart, but she can feel the pulse of her anyway. She can feel the place carved in that ravenous hunger, a space just big enough for Emma to crawl into without being consumed. Please, Emma says, or thinks, or dreams. She falls into those eyes without end. I've never been afraid of you. Yes. The woman's voice is the crushing pressure at the bottom of the ocean where the sun never touches. You are fearless, and so I have always been helpless before your pleading. And she unfurls. Emma can see nothing but her because there is nothing else, only those infinite eyes and that burn of the hunger consuming them both. There is nothing human left about the woman, and still Emma is not afraid. If you survive, come to me. Then she leans in, or swoops down, and folds close, and her mouth, or something like it, meets Emma's. Emma wakes twisted in her own sheets, sweat sticky in her own bed with the worst migraine she's ever had. She must have a whole damn construction crew inside her head, jackhammers pounding, drills roaring. Or maybe it's just a hangover. A shaft of sunlight slices into her eyes like a knife. The low rumble of her roommates' voices in the kitchen is enough to make her want to claw her ears off her head. One of them says, I can't wait to hear what insane drag queen she went home with last night. She's furiously hungry. She crawls from her bed to the bathroom and swallows a fistful of painkillers. The cool tile floor feels impossibly good against her temple. There was the woman, a man whose name she can't remember, and she groans and presses her face into the floor. Why can't she remember? It wasn't a dream. She knows it wasn't. But as the painkillers kick in and she's able to peel herself off the floor, she's not so sure. The headache pulses against her skull, but it's dull now. Her roommates have left for work, for which Emma is grateful. She doesn't want to answer any questions about how she plans to pay the rent. In the kitchen, McDonald's bags are scattered over the counter. Her roommates ordered enough for her, and more. Emma eats her way through a cold breakfast sandwich, too ravenous to wait for the microwave, then 2 hash browns. She's still hungry, so she eats another sandwich. As she chews, she notices the wallet tucked in beside the bananas. She hefts it with one hand, the other busy stuffing an apple in her mouth, then flips it open. The cash is all gone, but there are 6 credit cards. The driver's license says Daniel. The business card says he's an investment banker. She stops with her hand on the cupboard door, midway through a hunt for cereal. She doesn't even like cereal. She thinks. He was an investment banker. There's a nipple pasty stuck to the fridge, a lidless eye, rhinestones all along the edges. She looks around the kitchen, the wreck of the McDonald's bags, the apples chewed down through their cores. She should be full. She should feel sick from eating so much, but she isn't, and she doesn't. Her stomach feels empty, pinchingly, painfully so. None of the food made the slightest bit of difference. Emma is hungry. She shuts her eyes. Slowly she turns, then stops, like a compass needle finding north. Come to me, the woman said, as if Emma would ever want to do anything else. When she leaves, she takes Dale's credit cards. After all, he doesn't need them anymore. The end. CCStarfield is a Wattpad award-winning author who writes flawed, fabulous queer people chasing their happy endings and sometimes even finding them. CC was born at the roots of the mountains and now lives on the shores of a lake where they wander the streets like a wraith and drink too much tea. So that's it for this installment of Monstrous Love, an anthology of short stories by Wattpad writers brought to you by WritersConnX. There are 35 stories by some amazing writers, so make sure to subscribe if you want to know the instant a new story drops. We're publishing at least 2 new stories daily from February 1st to the 14th, so there's lots to check out. Don't forget to click the like button, and you can also leave us a comment to tell us what you think. For WritersConnX, I'm Rodney V. Smith, and I'll see you in the next one.